So that just kind of clears the air on that. And moving forward, the happiness of my camp, they are more than welcome to call me. I've had my cell phone, same cell phone number since high school. Open line of communication is always open with me and my agents. So if they have anything they'd like to discuss, we've been nothing but willing to listen.
Okay, so a lot there. J-Mac, what do you make of these comments from Trey?
I mean, that was brave to let everyone know he has the same phone number since high school.
So many calls right now.
Some old people, old friends, knowing that a deal may happen. Yeah, exactly. I look at this, and this all started with the comments from Katie Blackburn saying that he almost should be happy with where they are. And you think about this, I hate to see negotiations being played out in public. We saw Jerry Jones talk about Micah Parsons. On this topic, be like the married couple. Are you inside, and as soon as you walk out and you go to the party, you act like everything is fine. For Trey Hendrickson, come on, Laura, you've been married for a while.
Parties.
Well, Josh, he doesn't argue.
He's perfect. It's me.
Exactly. Yeah. But if you're Trey Hendrickson, you're looking at all your buddies getting paid, and you're starting to wonder, hey, you guys could have just told me, like, I'm on deck, and I have no problem being patient. I've done that thus far. But when is it going to happen for me? Because the season's creeping up. Activities are starting to happen, and I want to be the leader, and I want to be the guy that I always say I am. But you told me to perform, and I'd get that contract. I've done that and then some. When is the contract coming?
I mean, it's a horrible look for the organization, and there's two sides to every story. But in Trey Hendrickson's words, in the way that at least I interpreted it is, okay, you guys told me to go do something. I did it 2 years in a row. You told me I would get compensated for that. And now you're telling me a completely different side of the story. And also the lack of communication that he kind of expressed is probably the biggest deal. You guys know this, like, communication is a massive deal. He even said it's a big deal to him. And for them to, it seems like, drag their feet, it makes no sense. We all understand it's a business. When you tell an employee, go do this and we will pay you for those services, and you go above and beyond, and then you pretend, at least it sounds like, that wasn't said, that's a bad look for the organization. And it looks like they've told them one thing and doing another.
Phil, you are not going to replace a Trey Hendrickson, right? But who could they look to in the draft if this doesn't get done or something happens here that could at least try to help?
Yeah, I'll get you some names in just a moment. But the hardest part in team building in football is acquiring premier talent. Somewhere below that is extending those players on deals that are commensurate with their pay. They've done the impossible part. Trey Hendrickson was a free agent they signed. You never get players of Trey Hendrickson's caliber through free agency. They nailed it. Find a way to get this done. It has caused way too much strife for a player.
It's not only talent, it's talent and character.
Yeah, and like
high talent, high character guy.
What do you think the rest of the defense, who's like, well, we all stunk last year. That was the one guy who was good. And if he can't get a contract done, what do we have to do to get a deal done when our time comes as well? As far as the draft is concerned, they pick 17th. They obviously have a massive number of defensive needs. Nobody is Trey Hendrickson, but some of the names that might come to mind that I do think will be in the range of 17 when Cincinnati picks includes James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. He ran a 4.4 740 at the combine, very natural, fluid athlete. Not as big and stout against the run as Trey Hendrickson, but again, nobody is Trey Hendrickson in this equation. Mike Green from Marshall had 17 sacks last season, most in the entire FBS. Michael Williams from Georgia, another name to know. Guy who's had tons of pedigree since his high school days.
Again, I mean, those are players that have a good future, but just let's get Trey Hendrickson figured out here, okay? You've got him on your team right now. All right, Field's here because, well, we love Field, but also because he dropped his latest mock draft today. Field, give us the top 3 picks of the mock 4.0. Let's start with number 1.
Not a lot of curveballs in this mock, at least not right now, Laura. The Titans make Cam Ward the first overall pick. It feels like if there's one thing we feel really good about in this year's draft, it's Cam Ward being the eventual Titans starter. Dynamic season at Miami, his 3rd separate program at the college level. This guy's got a cannon of an arm, a great innovator, and of course Tennessee has a razor-thin quarterback depth chart. At this moment, all signs point to Cam going to Nashville. The Browns go non-quarterback here. They take Abdul Carter from Penn State, the best pass rusher in this draft. He had 12 last season. To me, it's kind of 1 and 1A. The best player in the draft, in my opinion, is Travis Hunter. But I really can't knock a team that already has Myles Garrett about the idea of putting together what could immediately become one of the league's scariest pass rush duos. And, of course, one of the most premium position in the entire NFL right now. And then finally, the Giants take Shedeur Sanders here at number 3. And this is where things, I think, become a little more complicated. At the end of the day, Laura, I would just say this. You don't plan on being in the 3rd overall pick slot in future years. You don't know exactly what future quarterback classes are going to look like. If you love the player, if you have conviction on the player, you don't let what has taken place so far this offseason, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, deter you from taking Shedeur Sanders, who gives you your best path towards sustained success going forward.
Oh, that number 3 pick is so complicated for so many reasons. I like what you did there. For more on what the Giants may be thinking, what they might do with number 3, here's head coach Brian Daboll. He had this to say earlier in the week at the NFL league meetings.
You're in year 4 now. How important is it for you to add a young quarterback to the mix as well?
Yeah, I think as many good players as we can add, we'll take. So right now we have the 3 guys in the quarterback room. We'll see what happens here over the next, call it month, if you will. And whoever's in that room, we'll do the best job we can of coaching them up.
All right, Mel Kiper Jr. is also here to talk about this, Mock. So, Mel, we're going to start with you. Do you agree?
I'm going to talk about the hair.
We're talking about that later, okay?
All right.
But we have something planned, Dan.
I don't
mess
want to
with
talk
the plan. J-Mag, you're lucky you don't have to. You don't want to talk hair like this. All right, Mel, do you agree with Field on this pick for the Giants at 3, taking Shedeur?
Well, first of all, Laura, I got a breaking news. We've got a new number 1 on the big board, by the way. Travis Hunter's bumped. Got bumped. But Travis Hunter is not the number 1 player on my big board. It's Madden Orlovsky is the new number 1. Great job, pal. Phenomenal. Madden Orlovsky, always going to be number 1 on any big board I have. You're the honorary number 1, pal. Always will be ahead of everybody. In terms of Shedeur Sanders, I love the kid. I love everything about Shedeur Sanders. And think about Patrick Mahomes. The 2 Super Bowls they lost, the offensive line didn't get the job done. Shedeur Sanders' offensive line 2 years ago never got the job done. They stunk. And he was 27 touchdown passes, 3 picks, almost 70% completion percentage. Got a little bit better this past year. His numbers were 74% completion percentage. I understand he doesn't have the wow factor. I understand all that. But you can win from the pocket in the NFL. It's been proven time and time again. You can be a top 10 quarterback doing the things the way Shedeur does as a surgeon in the pocket. I would take him. Do I think they will take him? Adam Schefter said yesterday, maybe not. Yeah. So we have a little pause there. You're going to be at the Pro Day Field on Friday. We'll see what happens. I have Mock 4.0 coming out Tuesday. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my calls with my friends in the NFL. But if I were picking for the Giants, I would take Shedeur Sanders at 3.
I'll certainly have my eyes out for how many members of the Giants organization is at the Colorado Pro Day. And I'll just say this, is that if they don't take a quarterback at number 3 overall, and Shedeur Sanders is 16th on my big board. So if we were going just by the big board, this would not be the pick. That being said, it would be 2 separate years in which you have a top 6 pick, and you don't take a quarterback in back-to-back years. I understand that these guys don't have the same level of grade as the 3 quarterbacks that came in last year and went 1, 2, 3, Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, and Drake May. But you got to give yourself a chance. We have seen time and again in the NFL teams that overthink it at the quarterback spots and either bypass a guy who ends up becoming a really good player or taking a guy who's can't miss and not finding a way to actually make that player a high-level quarterback starter. If the Giants have any conviction at all on Shedeur Sanders, they have to take him at number 3, and they have to give themselves a chance, Dan, in the NFC East with Jayden Daniels and Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott to eventually get back into the mix.
Shedeur's been the toughest evaluation that I've had at that position, quarterback, since I started in TV. I don't know where you and Mel stand on it, and here's the why. Number 1, is Dion going to let him to go to a place like New York? I don't know. And then when you watch Shedeur's tape, it feels like half of his throws are at or behind the line of scrimmage. And that's part of the offense necessity.
Is he calling that or not?
And then a quarter of the plays, he's got no shot because the offensive line protection is absolutely horrific. Yeah. So you really, I walk away going, I get to evaluate a quarter of his pass attempts. And there's a lot that you like. You sit there and go, the timing, the placement, the rhythm, the maneuvering of the pocket. But then I sit there and go, well, there's times when he only looks at Travis Hunter. Probably justifiably so. There's times when I can sit here and watch him take the snap and go, I'm not looking at anything. I'm just trying to get away in the pocket and kind of predetermining that. Probably justifiably so. It's like you really only get a quarter of his snaps that you sit there and go, what are you exactly when it comes to high-end talent, bottom starting, kind of where you're going to be as a player. And I think it's really difficult to get a full evaluation where comparison to like a Cam Ward, or they got so much snaps of ball that you can pay attention to.
And what I love that you said is fascinating because of all of those things, and that's just the evaluation of Shedeur Sanders. I think on the other side of this, as you look at it for the New York Giants, their ownership, John Mara said earlier in the offseason,